Hello, everybody. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Get Your Play Online. My name is Maddie, and today we're going to be doing a mindfulness activity called flower breathing. And so flower breathing is all about making sure we're taking nice, deep breaths, and I really like to do it when I'm feeling upset or maybe sad or angry, or just when I kind of remind myself to take deep breaths. Maybe I'm feeling nervous in a situation. And so what we're going to do to get started, here's what it's going to look like, is draw a flower first, and then we're going to use this flower to help us take those deep breaths that I was mentioning. So let's get started. What you're going to need to do this activity is a piece of paper. I have a white piece of paper, but you could use any color that you want. So if you have a color that you'd like to use instead, go for it. And then the other thing that we'll need to use are some drawing utensils. So I have markers, but again, if you like crayons or colored pencils, or even just a plain pen, you can use those as well. So really anything you have on hand. I really like this activity because even if I was not at home, I could, do it with a pen and a napkin or something like that. So it's something that you could do kind of on the go too as well. But when I have the time, I like to make it, a little more creative with colors and stuff like that. Okay, so let's get started. So before we start to learn how to flower breathe, we're going to draw the flower, like I said. So first, what I'm going to do is draw a stem onto my paper. So I'm going to use green for this, but you could use any color that you want. And let me get the camera down here so that you can see. So I'm going to draw a stem, and we're going to be drawing a pretty big flower. So I'm only going to draw the stem from the bottom of the page, maybe to about the middle, like that. And if you wanted to, you could add leaves to the stem as well. So I'm going to add some leaves here. I'm going to color them in. I like this activity too because I think that taking the time to color the flower also gives me some time to, calm down, and I can kind of mindfully color. So taking time to really pick out which colors I want and really focusing on the drawing instead of anything that has been upsetting me. So I'm just focusing on drawing the leaves and the stem. So now that we have that, we are going to draw a flower with 6 petals. So six petals. And so first, I'm going to draw a circle in the middle of my flower. So I think I'm going to choose orange for that. So I'm going to draw a circle in the middle and color that in. And again, since we're trying to do this as a mindfulness activity, I'm really taking my time with my coloring and just focusing on the colors. Okay, so now that we have the center of our flower, we're going to draw 6 petals. So 6 petals. And I think I'm going to use blue. So to draw the petals, I'm going to draw U shapes, so like the letter U. So I'll trace that onto the screen here. So we're drawing 6 of those. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 petals. So you can see here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 petals. Now, if you wanted to, you could also use a different even number. So if you wanted, you could do 4 petals, or 8 petals. But I found that 6 usually fits best around the little circle. So that's why I chose 6, but you could do any even number. So 2, 4, 6, or 8. You could maybe do 10, but it might not fit on the paper. So I have 6 petals here. And again, you could leave these as just an outline like this, or you could color them in. And like I said before, since I want to take the time to really be mindful with this activity, I like to take the time to color them in. And just, take it nice and slow and focus on the colors that I'm using, focusing on, what I like about flowers, those types of things. So I take my time. But again, you could leave these as just an outline if you'd like. So just coloring in these flowers. And you can use any colors you want. So I used blue and orange here, but in my example, I used blue and pink. So any colors that you like best. Just gonna take a little bit more time to color in our petals here. And you can take as long as you need. So keep coloring those in. And once you're done, you could also color the background if you'd like, or you can just leave it blank like this. And so for this activity right now, I'm just gonna leave it blank, but you can see on my other one, I drew some grass. You could draw the sky in the background if you'd like. You can leave it as simple or as decorated as you want. So now that we're going to do, the next thing that we're going to do is use our flower to practice taking those deep breaths that I was talking about. And so this might sound a little silly at first, right? We breathe every day, so why do we need to practice? But taking deep breaths is something that sometimes doesn't come easy to people. I know that I find it a little bit tricky when I try to, take nice, long, deep breaths instead of just more short breaths that I'm used to taking. And it's also really helpful to practice taking deep breaths because it can be really relaxing or calming. So like I said earlier, it's great to try and take some deep breaths when you're feeling upset or angry, or maybe a little anxious or nervous. That's when I find it the most helpful, is when I'm feeling a little bit nervous, is to take these like nice deep breaths. So one way I like to know that I'm taking those deep breaths is to put my hand on my chest or on my belly. And when I breathe in, you feel your chest and your belly rise. And when you breathe out, sorry, I said that wrong. When you breathe in, you feel your chest or your belly fall. And when you breathe out, you feel it rise. So those are the types of breaths that we're going to be taking. But I find that this flower is really helpful because it helps me time those breaths a little bit better. So one more thing that we're going to draw are arrows going from each petal to the next petal. So I'm going to keep drawing these arrows. Sorry, there's a train going by, so if you hear that, that's what's in the background right now. So I drew these arrows to help me time how to take deep breaths. So I'm going to trace these arrows with my finger, and I'm going to do 2 petals at a time. So like this, 1, 2, as I take a deep breath in, and then 1, 2, as I take a deep breath out. So let's try it. So we'll keep tracing these petals for a few minutes to practice those deep breaths. But remember, if tracing 2 petals feels like too much, like it feels like you're waiting too long to breathe in or out, don't keep breathing at this pace. Instead, maybe try just one petal. Because it's really important. This activity is meant to make our bodies feel good and relaxed, not to feel like we're holding our breaths, okay? So I'm going to do 2 petals, but if you'd like to do just one, that is totally okay. So we're going to start at one of the ends of the arrows. And remember, we're going to go 2 petals as we breathe in, 2 petals as we breathe out. And you know what? I'm going to hold this up this way so you can see me breathing too. Okay, so let me go here. Okay, so ready? We're going to trace. So breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. So again, we're going to take a nice deep breath in and a nice breath out. And we're going to keep tracing those as we take those deep breaths to help us feel calm and relaxed instead of, maybe upset or angry or nervous. So I'm going to go back down to the camera or back down to the flower. And we're going to keep practicing tracing. So take a breath in for 2 petals or 1. And out for 2 petals. And in and out. And we can keep tracing as long as we'd like until we feel, a little bit more calm. So it might only take a few breaths, or you might do it for a couple of minutes. So we're just going to keep practicing that. But I also want to mention that there's a lot of other types of deep breathing techniques if you don't like the flower so much. So we're going to keep practicing with the flower for a few more minutes, but then I'll tell you about some of these other ways in case you don't want to draw the flower every time you try to practice this. Okay, let's go back down to the flower. Okay, so remember you can do just 1 petal if that works better. Let's try doing just 1 for this round. So we're going to trace 1 petal in and then breathe out for 1 petal. Okay, ready? In and out. And in and out. And in and out. And in and out. Nice job, everybody. So I mentioned earlier that this is a mindfulness technique, but I realized that I didn't explain what mindfulness means. And so a lot of different mindfulness techniques are made to make us feel a little bit more calm and relaxed, like I mentioned. And the reason for that is that and the reason why it's the mind is the first part of that word, is you focus your mind on an activity like this or breathing instead of the thing that's making you feel upset. It's something that I found has been really helpful for me, so I wanted to share it all with you guys. But like I said, you don't always have to use this flower, even though it's a fun way to practice it. So I'm going to talk about a few other ways to practice mindful, like deep breathing. So one way that I really like is to imagine smelling flowers, which I guess is a little bit related to this. And then you can blow, like the buds off of a dandelion. So you can imagine smelling a nice flower while you breathe in. And then blow all the flowers off the dandelion like this. And you can keep doing that. So that's a fun way to practice breathing in and out, nice and slow and deep. Another way, and this is fun if your birthday is coming up, is to imagine smelling like a yummy birthday cake or whatever other type of treat you like to have on your birthday, and then blow out the candles on the cake. So let's practice that one. So smell the cake or whatever treat you would be having, And then blow out the candles. Nice. So you could do that a couple of times. Another really fun one is to pretend to blow bubbles. Or if you have bubbles with you, actually blowing bubbles is another great way too. So you could pretend to hold a bubble wand or hold it in your hand if you have a real one, and take a nice, slow, deep breath in, and then blow so that bubbles come out. Or if you have the bubble wand, real bubbles come out, and that's a really fun way to practice it as well. Another way that I like to do is to imagine breathing like a dragon. So you know, a lot of dragons breathe fire, and so you take a nice big breath in and pretend that fire is coming out like a dragon. And that's a really good way to make sure you're breathing deeply instead of just more normally how we do, every day. I have a few more examples just because I know that sometimes you don't have time to, draw a whole flower, but you might still want to practice taking some deep breaths to feel a little bit more calm and relaxed throughout your day. So another great way is to trace your fingers. So as you go up one finger, you breathe in, and as you go down the finger, you breathe out. So let's practice that. I'll do my whole hand. So we go in and out, and in and out, and in and out, and go in again and out. Last time. So that's a really great way to do all of the ways I've just listed are a great way to practice it. If you don't have, any markers or paper nearby, you can just imagine, or you can use your hand if imagining is a little bit too hard, or just feels like not what you want to do in that moment. Another way that you can do it is to count while you breathe. So you could say, oh, I'm going to breathe in for 4 and out for 4. So you could count on your fingers or in your head. It's a little bit hard to count while you're breathing. So I'm going to do it on my fingers. So we're going to go in and out. And in and out. And again, sometimes the counting can be a little bit tricky. Like I said earlier, you don't want to feel like you're holding your breath. So if you find that a number's too high and you feel like you're holding your breath and you can't breathe before you breathe back out, make the number a little bit smaller. That's totally okay. It's, again, made to make you feel relaxed and calm and not like you're holding your breath or feel a little bit stressed trying to do it. So if it's not making you feel more relaxed and calm, you could try a different way or try something else that makes you feel nice and calm. Maybe just drawing a picture instead of tracing it as well. Maybe going outside. That's something that always makes me feel a little bit better. So that is, our flower breathing activity as well as some other methods for deep breathing. I really hope you enjoyed creating this with me and practicing taking deep breaths, and I hope that you'll join us for another video in the future with Get Your Play Online. I hope you have a great day, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Bye.